With a terrible taste in my mouth, I awoke from a slumber that seemed so deep I would never emerge. Having gone to bed at 1:17 a.m., it was now only 2:47 a.m. My hour and a half of sleep had seemed infinitely longer than that, filled with twists and turns of a subconscious dream state. But now, reality was all too real. When I say this taste in my mouth was terrible, I don't mean that standard gopher breath every middle-aged man has when he wakes up. This taste was very abrasive and unusual, not bitter, but sickly sweet, making me want to vomit. The closest thing I would compare it to would be the aftertaste of cheap rum mixed with some form of liquefied candy corn. My bare feet touched the cold, hard ground of my new studio apartment, and I walked past my bedroom window into the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, I opened my mouth in hopes of identifying the source of the taste, only to find that my tongue was covered in white gunk, almost like plaque. Confused, I then brushed my tongue and teeth to eliminate the taste to no avail. Beginning to become restless, I then went into the kitchen. Opening cabinets one by one, I'd set my mind on finding something to cut through this terrible flavor. The best option I found was lemon juice and began downing it like water. Frustratingly enough, the liquid glided over the plaque on my tongue like a protective film, never even touching my taste buds. Throwing the lemon juice to the ground, I went back to my bedroom. Suddenly and all at once, I was aware of a presence. A warm, throbbing, almost painful sensation came over me, almost like an external source of nerve stimuli, boldly yet calmly letting me know I wasn't alone. It was the kind of inherent awareness that one would experience in a dream, only this wasn't a dream. My instincts directed my attention to my bedroom window, to which, almost in a trance, I then walked to and peered out of. What I saw was the visage of an owl, sitting on a tree branch. Not a screech owl or a spotted owl, but more of a barn owl if I had to guess. It was very large and almost immaculately white. For the longest time, I was paralyzed, staring into its crimson saucer-like eyes. I didn't know if I was frightened or intrigued, but this animal wasn't just staring at me, it seemed to be staring relentlessly into me. After at least 4 or 5 minutes of this, the owl then, with an air of utter calm, smiled at me. Looking into his eyes, I felt strangely comforted. The very moment I broke its gaze, however, everything changed. My tongue began throbbing with a writhing pain I can't even begin to describe. Almost like every individual muscle inside of it was tearing itself apart. I ran to the kitchen to put water on it, but it dried up like acid as soon as it touched. Panicking now, I put everything I could think of on my tongue to help alleviate the pain. Nothing seemed to be helping, but I was determined to not give up until the pain abated. It was 10 minutes later when the swelling began. In addition to the writhing pain that had not let up one bit, now my tongue felt like it was being inflated with air from the inside. Barely able to close my mouth, I ran past the window again towards my bedside. The owl was still there with a smile as big as ever. Reaching for a bottle of ibuprofen, I tried to down a handful at once, hoping it will help the swelling. I was unable to swallow, though, and the pills fell abruptly out of my mouth. Nothing seemed to be helping, and in a complete act of desperation, I ran back to the kitchen, past the Smiling Owl, into the silverware drawer. Opening it, I reluctantly pulled out my sharpest serrated steak knife. Holding my breath, I punctured my tongue with the knife, hoping the wound would release some of the pressure. And instead, all my muscles tightened around the knife hole, making my tongue's pain increase doublefold. Reducing to flailing on the floor now, I did the only thing left that any rational human being would do. I put the knife in my mouth and began sawing at my tongue. The pain of the blade was nothing compared to what I had been experiencing, and once my tongue was halfway severed, I paused for a second as to not choke on my own blood, which was now pooling quite dramatically on the floor around me. Showering the floor with blood, my severed tongue landed on the floor in front of me, squirming and flapping like a fish out of water. Disgusted and mortified, I kicked it across the floor into the bedroom and closed the kitchen door so as not to see it, and even worse, not to hear it, flapping around. Plugging my mouth with paper towels, trying desperately to maintain the bleeding, I sat crouched in a corner, suspended by shock and disbelief. and as my heart rate finally slowed, I was still frozen with fear. So many thoughts were rushing through my head, and they were almost indecipherable. What just happened? Is that a medical condition? Am I dreaming? What was with that owl? Was that an owl?